Kims.
Hello everyone, I am Jenny Axler and welcome to this next video in our series on the SensePlayer, as well as the next video in our sort of sub-series on the Smart Connect function. And yes, I recognize you do not see my face. You can hear my voice, but I'm a disembodied voice. What you're seeing instead is a whole table of devices in front of me. And all of these devices have actually been, or are actually, paired with my SensePlayer right now under the Smart Connection function. I have an iPad mini, I have a mini Galaxy tablet, I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, I have a Pixel 6, and I have a BrailleSense 6 Mini. I also actually have a BrailleSense 632 paired with it as well, but it wouldn't fit on the table. So I actually have 6 devices paired with this function, and all of these work with the Smart Connection function under the various key maps we offer. Now, part of the reason that we're doing this second video is that in our first video, we showed you how to connect and we showed you the potential of the functions, but I think it made it look quite a bit more complicated than it actually is. In this video, we want to focus on the patterns because there are patterns to the interfaces. We also want to talk about how all 3 key maps are alike, how they're different, what's consistent about them and what isn't, and in general, the patterns of the interface that make this more intuitive than it probably seemed when we introduced it last time. So without further ado, and without further rambling from me, let's get to it. Okay, so while I have 6 devices paired with my SensePlayer, we're actually going to work with 3 of them because some of that will be repetition. I have 2 BrailleSenses, 2 Android devices, and 2 iOS devices. So we'll work with 1 of each and go from there. So I have my SensePlayer and I'm at the main menu. Now in the last video, I explained that there are different functions to the Smart Connect key. If you shallow press it, it should automatically reconnect to my last device. That was my iPhone. I'm going to unlock it first.
3:44 p.m.
Just to be on the safe side here.
Folder. 10 apps. 2 new items.
So I'm going to shallow press the connect key now.
Smart Connect.
And we'll give it a
Connecting.
second. Here it goes.
Successfully connected to iPhone 10. iPhone 10 is connected.
And if I use my arrow keys,
Utilities folder. 8. Accessibility folder. 6 apps.
I am in fact seeing my iPhone's home screen. So what I really want to talk about in this video is the interface, because as I said with our last video, it may have seemed a bit complicated, but there is actually a method to it. So as I explained, the arrow keys are going to be sort of like flicking. So if you move to the right, it's like
Apple folder. 13 apps.
a flick to the right.
Social networking folder. News folder. 8 apps.
And if I move to the left,
Social networking folder. Apple folder. 13 apps. Accessibility folder. 6
you
apps.
can tell I went beyond the row there, and it's as though I am flicking to the left. And of course, I can just use the OK key as my double tap. And it just opened a folder, as you heard. And I
Accessibility
just
folder. 6 apps.
close that with the cancel key, which is basically like the back button. So the up and down arrows then are going to be like flicking up and down, which, as you know, generally changes the rotor value.
Edit mode. Today. App library. Activate. Default.
And you can change the rotor setting using the pound and star key, or hash and star key. So if I press the hash key,
Characters. Words. Speaking rate. 70%.
and now if I use the down arrow,
65%. 60%. 65%. 70%.
so this is generally going to be pretty intuitive because it's generally going to follow the same conventions that you use when you flick and swipe. So now with the number keys, when you're using the number keys, these are generally going to be used for reading and navigation. We'll do other things by adding other modifiers. So again, pressing number 1 gets you to the top, just as it does in the SensePlayer interface.
Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2
And
new
this
items.
is my first item in my home screen. And then pressing number 7 goes to the bottom.
Dock. Music.
And this is the last item in my dock. If I go back to the
Productivity
top.
folder. 10 apps. 2 new items.
Just as with the SensePlayer, Numbers 3 and 9 will serve as page up and page down. You can also use numbers 4 and 6 to go page left and page right. So what I'm talking about here would be the swipes that you're going to do with 3 fingers, up and down and left and right. However, when you're using an iOS device, in order for this to work, you do have to have Quick Nav turned on. And just as with a QWERTY keyboard, you can do that by pressing the left and right arrows together. So if I do that right now, and I press number 3,
Spotlight.
because I am in the home menu, this is where it takes me. And there's nowhere else to go. If I go down, there's nowhere else to go. Let me press the cancel key.
Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2 new items.
Now let me press the number 6.
Page 2 of 2. Row reader.
And it takes me to the second page of my results. And if I press number 4,
Home. Page 1 of 2. Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2
it
new
goes
items.
back. So I'll go ahead and press the left and right arrows again to turn Quick Nav off. So again, you see all these keys on the outside sort of work as your navigation keys. 1 and 7, top to bottom, 3 and 9, page up and down, 4 and 6, page left and right. So the row down the center, or rather the column down the center, is used for reading and search. So number 2 will read from the top. Number 0 will read from your current position. Number 5 interrupts speech. And number 8 searches the current screen. So if I press the number 0 now,
Utilities folder. 8 apps. Accessibility folder. 6 apps. Apple folder.
keep
13
going.
apps. Social networking folder. 9 apps. 6 new items. News
And we'll
folder.
press
8
the
apps.
number
Travel folder.
5.
6 apps. Trivia folder. 9 apps. Educate.
and it stops. And again, you can actually press number 5 again to restart it.
Folder. 3 apps. Korean learning folder.
And
6
again.
apps. Translation folder. 6 apps. Reference folder.
Okay, and if I want to read from the top to the current position, I'll press number 2.
Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2 new items. Utilities folder. 8 apps. Accessibility
And
folder.
again,
6
we'll-
apps.
Stop it. Okay, so number 8 then will open your search screen dialog, which I'm not actually going to do a search, but you can see
Enter
it.
search text.
And it gives me the enter search text. I'm going to cancel though,
Stopping search.
because I don't want to actually search. Now, let's add menu to the mix. So when you use menu, you have larger navigation. So for example, you would use menu left and right arrows to move by 5 items in the home menu. And I need both of my hands to do this comfortably. I don't know. You probably
Education
don't.
folder. 3 apps.
So you hear it, it jumped 5 items.
Trend. Reference books. Media folder. 4 apps.
And I can jump back to the left.
Book. Trend. Korean education folder. 3 apps.
Now, if you start with the number pad, the first few items are going to give you iOS-specific controls. For example, menu number 1
4:01 p.m. Status bar item.
gives me the status bar. Menu number 2
Notification center. Notification center. 4:01 p.m.
opens the notification center. I'll press cancel.
Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2
And
new
I'm
items.
back in my home menu. And menu number 3
Control center. Airplane mode. Switch button. Off.
opens
Action
the
available.
control center.
Productivity folder. 10 apps.
Now,
2 new items.
when you start with number 4, you start getting screen reader functions. So, menu number 4,
Voiceover settings. Heading.
you get your voiceover quick settings. Again, I'll press cancel.
Productivity
Menu
folder.
number
10 apps. 2 new items.
5
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub, or press escape on the keyboard.
gives you voiceover help.
Escape. Escape. Stopping help.
So, menu number 6.
Stopping help. Copy to clipboard. Copy to clipboard.
So, what menu number 6 does is copy the last spoken text by voiceover to the clipboard. So, again, your top 3 items here are your Apple and iOS status information. Your next row is going to be your voiceover functions. Then we have a few other sort of voiceover related functions. If we do menu number 7,
Speech off.
that turns your speech off.
Speech on.
If we do menu number 9,
Screen curtain on.
that turns your screen curtain on and off.
Screen curtain off.
Now, menu number 8 is sort of a random thing. This is actually your item chooser.
28 items. Accessibility folder. 6 apps.
So you can get to your item chooser. Again, I'll press cancel.
Closing item chooser.
Now, menu with the bottom row always controls media. So if I press menu plus 0, this is like your magic tap. So it not only controls media, but it will perform other functions. Now, menu with the hash key is the next track. This is an 80s playlist. All right, we like that one. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to press menu plus star because I really don't like that one. So we're going to go back to the one I do like. Okay. And again, I'll press menu plus 0 to pause playback. So how do we do things like get to your task manager and things like that? You do that with menu delete.
App switcher. Music. Active.
Or
Actions
rather,
available.
your app switcher. Sorry about that. So then I could just use the arrow keys,
Messages. Active. Settings. Active. Actions
and
available.
I can again press OK on the one that I want.
Settings.
We use menu and delete to control some of the various things like going home. We long press the menu key. As I just showed you, menu plus delete controls the app switcher or brings up the app switcher. Now we continue with the delete key for sort of the power key functions. So you can press and hold it to open Siri. Play Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles.
Here's Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles.
Productivity folder.
And again,
10
I'll
apps.
press
New items.
menu plus 0 to pause our media. And you can also toggle voiceover on and off with 3 presses of the delete key, much like you would use the power key on the phone itself. So if I press it 3 times,
Voiceover off.
and again.
Voiceover on. Productivity folder. 10 apps. 2 new items.
Now note, this is only going to work on phones without the home button. When you use the phones with the home button, you can only turn voiceover off, and that is a different keystroke. Now let's explore a little bit how the same things apply to Android. So this time I'm going to long deep press my connect key. This is going to bring up my pairing list.
Save devices dialog. iPhone 10 connected. 1/6 list item.
And you can hear all 6 devices I mentioned in the beginning. We have iPhone 10, which is actually an iPhone 11, by the way.
Pixel 6 2/6 list item.
I have my Pixel 6, and again, I'm just pressing the down arrow. We'll go through.
Braille Edge 387 3/6 list item.
As you know, Braille Sense 6 minis appear as Braille Edges. So these are the first 3 devices I have sitting here on the table, and then I still have
iPhone 74 4/6 list item.
my iPad mini. For some reason, identifies as iPhone 74. Who knows why, but I
Braille Sense 6
know what it is.
13056 list item.
My Braille Sense 6 130 will be my 32. Let's go back up to Pixel 6.
Braille Edge 300 Pixel 6 2/6 list item.
And I'm just going to press the OK key here, and I can connect to it.
Successfully connected to Pixel 6. Pixel
All
6
right.
is connected.
Volume set to 26%.
Now again, remember when you're connecting to set your correct key map. Otherwise, these keystrokes may not work as you expect them to. So
4:13 p.m. Wednesday, February 8th. Sunny, 46 degrees Fahrenheit.
now I know that the unlock button is at the very end of the screen, so I'm going to press number 7 to jump to the bottom,
Unlock.
and I'm going to press the OK key because I don't have any passkey set.
Device unlocked. Sunny, 47 degrees Fahrenheit.
And now I'm in my home menu for Android. So as I just mentioned, you can use the same keystrokes. Number 1 will take you to the top.
Home.
Number 7 will take you to the bottom.
Google Lens button.
You can, again, use your left and right arrows to...
Voice search button and labeled button search. Camera.
So you can also adjust the controls. They don't call them rotors, but it's a similar thing using the star and hash keys.
Characters. Words. Paragraphs. Headings.
I think they call
Controls.
them reading controls.
Links. Speech rate.
And again, I can use the up and down arrows to change
Speech
it.
rate 90%. Speech rate 82%. Speech rate 90%.
Very nice. And once again, you can also use menu number 2 to bring up notifications.
Notification shade. 4:14 p.m. Wednesday, February 8th. Bluetooth connected. Wi-Fi 2 bars. Battery 78%.
So you're not going to
Home.
find that everything is the same. Cancel again will serve as your back button. Long pressing menu will serve as your home button. So again, you're not going to find that everything is the same, but most things are. Once you learn the key map, you are generally going to, as long as you set the correct key map, you'll be able to use the same keystrokes to do the same kinds of functions or similar functions. And we have paralleled those wherever possible. Clearly, each operating system has a few different functions that don't exactly compare to each other, but wherever we could, we tried to give you the same Smart Connect key for the same functions across OSs. So now let's take a look at the Braille Sense connection. So I'm going to again deep press the Smart Connect key.
Smart Connect.
And we'll get the pairing list here in a
Save
moment.
devices dialog. Braille Edge 38716 list item.
And I want my Braille Edge 387 connection. That is actually my Braille Sense 6 Mini, so I'll press OK. And it'll take a moment.
Successfully connected to Braille Edge 387. Braille Edge 387 is connected.
So I'm at my Braille Sense main menu, and in the Braille Sense, you actually arrow down just as you would on the SensePlayer. So you're not going to use quite the same interface as you are for the touchscreen. Many things will work the same, top and bottom, etc., but you're going to arrow down.
Word processor W, notepad N, email E, media M.
And arrow back up.
Email E, notepad word processor W.
To get to things. Now I'll press the OK key.
Notepad N. Email E.
Whoa, it's not doing what it should do.
Notepad N.
So the question is, why is it not doing what it should do? I can tell you why, and the reason is because the key map is not set correctly for this connection. You can, if you do forget, we do sort of have a save option here. So when you're in a smart connection, if you short press the Bluetooth key, now granted, remember the Bluetooth key always controls Bluetooth connections except when you are in Smart Connect. When you are in Smart Connect is taking over the Bluetooth function, so this key doesn't have any function anyway. So we gave it a different one. If you short press it, you will cycle through the available key maps.
Using Android key map. Using Braille Sense key map.
And this is actually what I want. I want to use the Braille Sense key map. It was actually using the iOS key map. And now you can see why that is important, because when I was pressing OK, it wasn't doing what I thought it should do. It wasn't doing what the Braille Sense would recognize as far as like, it wasn't actually pressing enter, basically, because it was trying to press VO space in the iOS key map. So now,
word processor W.
If I press the OK key,
top document,
and if I press the cancel key, I don't get anything, because in the Braille Sense, you have cancel as escape, but you also have a space Z function. So I can't press cancel to close a program in the Braille Sense because cancel does work as escape, so it'll close a menu or dialog just as you would expect. But in the Braille Sense system, the operating system, you also have a space Z function, which is more like an Alt F4. So this is the difference between escape and Alt F4. So in the Braille Sense key map, I can press and hold the cancel key to get the Alt F4 or space Z function.
Braille non-in1.save, yes prompt button.
And it's asking me if I want to save it. I don't.
No prompt button.
So I'll press OK on no.
Word processor W.
And I'm back in the home menu. So once again, I can press number 1 to get to the top.
File manager F.
And number 7 to get to the bottom.
Developer apps T.
And this is my last item in my main menu.
File manager F.
And again, numbers 3 and 9 will page up and page down in a file or folder list or anywhere you can. We can also use menu with the number keys to do several status and other functions. So if I press menu plus number 1,
Braille display B, off list item.
In the Braille Sense, it actually opens the global options. I'll press cancel.
Cancelled setting options. File manager F.
If I press menu number 3,
89 charged, using battery static box.
I get battery status.
File manager F.
Menu number 4.
Checking. Status, online, wireless, static box.
This will give me network status.
File manager F.
So again, I can use sort of similar functions. Now if I press menu number 7.
Voice off.
This again
Braille
turns voice off.
Voice on. File manager F.
And if I press menu number 9.
Internal speaker off. File manager F.
So you're going to find with the Braille Sense interface that the functions are going to be different. Yet they're sort of similar. So, you have your Braille and speech options with menu number 7, number 8. You can also use menu number 6 to mute your internal microphone, menu number 9 to mute your internal speakers. So they're sort of similar functions, even though they're different because the Braille Sense interface is different. So especially if you're going to use the Braille Sense, you'll want to check the manual. You want to check the manual for each key map. But you can generally have this notion that your numbers are going to give you reading and navigation. Your menu plus your numbers are going to give you larger navigation, as well as like status, notifications, and the ability to change things like your speech and Braille settings, etc. So you can even use menu plus the bottom row of keys to control media. However, there is one difference. You do actually have to open the media player on the Braille Sense first. Once it's in the background, once it's opened, you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to arrow down to media.
Email E. Media M.
And
Media
press
player
OK.
M.
And I'll press OK.
Title Track 109 Love Potion 9 MP3 Stop Static Box.
And now I can use menu plus 0 to play.
Playing.
And menu plus hash to go to the
Title
next
Track
track.
212 Moondance MP3 Stop Static Box.
And it's even announcing it for
Title
me.
Track 313 Yesterday MP3 Stop Static Box.
All right.
Pause.
And menu plus 0 to pause it. So, as I keep saying, we do try to give you some consistency here. So clearly we didn't even scratch the surface of absolutely every function of Smart Connect, but what I really wanted to point out is that once you start working with it, you are going to see consistency. You are going to see patterns, and it won't be as difficult to memorize and use as it may have seemed with the last video or when you initially look at it. So just give it some practice, give it some time, and I think that you'll find that this is actually quite intuitive. We hope this is helpful. For more information about any of our HIMSS products, you can visit our website at www.himsintl.com or send us an email at hims@selvishc.com. Thanks for watching.